Welcome to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yance, and this is episode 3. And we are talking about The Rock in 2003. And we're going to talk about his run from SmackDown 2003 to his run up to Raw in 2003, all the way up to the final match with Goldberg. So that's what we have, and please stay tuned. Let's talk about The Rock. What a lot of people, fans, would call Hollywood Rock. And this Rock is basically, we're going to be talking about mainly 2003 Rock. So let's talk about how this came to be about. Well, at WrestleMania 18, at this time, The Rock was facing Hollywood Hogan, and The Rock was the babyface. But you could feel the crowd starting to turn. And when The Rock came out and faced Hogan, the whole crowd turned on him. Now, they were able to make this into a good thing because they wanted Hogan to turn in some ways. But this was the first sign that there was trouble with The Rock. So let's fast forward to he comes back in June of 2002 after Austin had walked out on the company. They bring back The Rock. And The Rock is, you can feel the crowd kind of getting, once again, agitated with him. Because he has already done the Scorpion King. And that's done really well. And you are feeling the idea that he's going to do this going back and forth from Hollywood. And a lot of people are not really cool with that. I believe he was filming at the time The Rundown. I'm not completely sure if that's what he was filming, but I think in between there he was filming The Rundown, or it may be after SummerSlam that he's filming The Rundown. So we come to SummerSlam 2002. The Rock is the undisputed champion, and he is facing Brock Lesnar, the young up-and-comer, in the Nassau Coliseum. And this is a huge match. They treated this match almost like a UFC fight. They showed the training videos for both of them. It was really something to behold. But at this match, The Rock faces Brock, and the crowd turns on The Rock again. This time, Brock is cheered. And the Nassau Coliseum is just going bonkers for Brock. And Brock beats Rock. Now, people don't know this, but after the match, The Rock grabbed the microphone and the crowd is booing him. And he sort of turns heel right then and there. He turns into a bad guy. Because he cuts a promo on the crowd. It's something to behold. So, The Rock leaves. And he was supposed to do something, I believe, the next night on Raw. But because of the boos, they were like, no, keep him away. So Rock is gone. And we don't know where he's going. So we come to the 10th anniversary for Raw. And this is kind of the first time we've seen Rock in, a couple of months here. And he cuts this promo and he's talking about, Kurt Angle, how he beat him. And I didn't know this. I looked it up. But yeah, he did beat Kurt Angle on January 3rd, 2000 in Pittsburgh, his hometown. So he was correct about that, but this promo went on and on and on, and nobody cared. And you could see the crowd almost wanting to boo him then. So I don't know if they knew that he was coming back as a heel then, but it seemed to be kind of in the works. that he was becoming a heel. Because we flash forward now to 2003. And this is January 30th, 2003. Vince makes the announcement that Rock is facing Hogan at No Way Out. And The Rock shows up by satellite to address SmackDown. And he turns heel. He kind of becomes a villain, but it's not like officially a villain yet, because usually you can tell when somebody's actually the villain. The announcers start talking about him in that way. And they hadn't really done this yet. They're just kind of hinting at it. So he's cutting a promo via satellite from Hollywood, California. And he makes fun of Green Bay. He's hitting that catchphrase that he's got, hit it strong, hit it fast. I never really liked that. It's a good promo. He's talking about like his assistant, and he's basically playing up the idea that he's the Hollywood guy and that he has assistants all taking care of him. It's a great idea, and it works really well. Now, February 6, 2003, this SmackDown, he's not there again, but he's cutting a promo on the Philadelphia crowd. And, he's like talking to like an imaginary person. We don't know if it's apparent, we think it's a woman or something, but he starts talking about Hogan, and he says like, he's cutting a commercial with the Muppets and stuff like that, and he's kind of making fun of them, and he brings up the boos, and he talks about how you're booing him, and then later on Hogan comes out, and Rock immediately interrupts him, and Rock yawns and tells him, you know what, you do your thing, do whatever you got to do. I'm gonna leave. Kind of being really self-centered. We're getting the basis for what Hollywood Rock will become. Now, flash forward to February 3rd, 2003. There's no Rock. No Rock. We're just, the announcers talk about the match that's coming up between Rock and Hogan, but there's no Rock. So it's kind of a lame duck show as far as I'm concerned. So nothing to say there. Next week, February 20th, 2003, The Rock returns live to Indianapolis, Indiana. And this is the go-home show for No Way Out, which is going to be in Montreal. And he comes out, the crowd's kind of, excited to see him and everything, because we haven't seen him in a while. And he's got, his leather vest and the leather pants, which became the uniform of the Hollywood Rock. And, he cuts this great promo. It's like 12 minutes. He goes 12 minutes and he talks about how, he almost waits 3 minutes before he says anything. And he rides the finally, almost turning it into a heel catchphrase. It's great. This is really him turning heel. This is when the announcers finally really recognize him as an official heel. And he's asking the fans, why are you booing me? He's asking the questions that we're all like wondering. He's saying, why are you booing me? Because I went to Hollywood, because I went to be successful. And he's saying, why are you booing me? And it's great. He's actually asking the questions that are on all our minds. And he goes to, he finally comes to the conclusion. He says, okay, you guys have made your decision. You know what? You want to boo The Rock? Fine. You're going to get the Rock you don't want to see. He's like warning them. He's like, you know what? You want to boo me? Fine. But I'm going to give you a Rock you're not going to like. And he does the, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. But he does it in a way that's heelish. He does the la 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 la. Then he cuts them off. He goes, no. You don't get to say the ending phrase. I'm gonna say it. And he says is cooking, turning it into a heel catchphrase. It's brilliant stuff. Now later on in the show, Hogan comes out again. Now this time, The Rock confronts him. He comes out, and he's really acting, cowardly a little bit. He's telling him, he's trying to go, it's really interesting because this is the first time in a long time you've seen The Rock really kind of being a coward, I don't want any part of you, backing off on them. He grabs water and he makes fun of Hogan to his face, and then he says, "Are you gonna apologize to The Rock? Yes or no?" Which is a callback to last year when he said that to him and he rock bottomed Hogan. But this time Hogan says no. Actually, he says hell no. And The Rock kind of goes back. He's like, whoop-de-doo, and he kind of runs away. And he kind of goes back to, he's like, look, I'm just trying to entertain. let's let bygones be bygones. And he puts his hand out there. And when he goes to shake his hand, he spits in Hogan's face and runs out of the ring. And it's a great build-up to Hogan Rock 2. But he suckers Hogan into a handshake and spits at him. Really becoming a troll. This Hollywood Rock is really a troll. He trolls the audience. It's great. That one thing I didn't talk about in the promo is when he was in Indianapolis, he says, there's so many hicks out here. Oh, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the hickory trees out there. So great. It's so funny. And he makes it work. Now, at this time, everything about Rock is about to change. He's still got his, upbeat music at this time. But now we're going into No Way Out 2003. And No Way Out 2003, this is the real beginning. Because The Rock comes out, and he comes out to new music. And it's still his theme, but it's got this swagger to it. It's got this swagger. It's slower. It starts off with these shots of I assume Hollywood. And then it comes in with this cooking. And they had this annoying thing which they cut off after No Way Out 2003. But here he comes down, sauntering down to the ring, cocky Rock. We haven't seen this in a while. We haven't seen this since 1999. So for a fan as me, who was a fan of heel Rock, seeing this was great. Because here he comes, this jerk coming down the ring, and he's letting everybody know he's the guy. He, gets in the ring. Hogan comes out, and now he's the hero. They've switched places because at WrestleMania they didn't really play up. The match changed it, but now we got heel Rock and babyface Hogan, and so this is a long time coming, and this is in Montreal, Canada. Which Canada is Hogan country, if anybody doesn't know. So there's a long entrances for both. And we get also the ref in this is Sylvain Grenier, which, if you're paying attention, is a good sign of telegraphing what's about to happen because we've never seen this guy before. So we get a rock bottom early in the match. And Rock is doing all these things, he's wearing Hogan's bandana, he's whipping him with his weightlifting belt. We get the sharpshooter in Montreal, hearkening back to the screw job with Bret Hart. Rock is making fun of the crowd by clapping at them and doing everything. He's got a chair, but The Rock misses. The crowd kind of feels a little bit dead at this time because I don't know. It didn't feel. He does the people's elbow. He does the spine buster with a spine on the pine. He goes through all that. None of this really ends the match. And now Hogan's basically got, Rock beat. And the lights go out. And we don't know what's happened. But there's a chair in the ring and the ref is down. Vince McMahon comes out and he's like, what's going on, because McMahon is feuding with Hogan at this time. Their whole plan is moving to Hogan McMahon. So Rock, Rock is recovered, and now he's got the chair, and he hits Hogan right over the chair, and Hogan's bleeding. And he's groggy to get up, and Rock goes in, rock bottom. Rock bottom, 1, 2, 3. You could almost say it's another Montreal screw job. So Rock is beating Hogan once again, but now he's a real heel. He cheats. He's not fair. He has new music. He has a new attitude. I mean, Vince and Rock are holding the hands up. Almost shades of Survivor Series 1998 when The Rock became champion for the first time, and Rock goes up the aisle and he pulls out his hand and he shakes Vince's hand. Now, the aftermath of this match, this doesn't really have anything to do with Hogan, but with Rock. But Hogan is in the middle of the ring and he's bleeding, and Vince comes out and he takes off his jacket and his shirt. He's got the Hogan shirt that says "Sucks Brother" on the back, and he rips the shirt and mocks Hogan. It's quite something to see. Now, this pretty much covers Rock on SmackDown, because The Rock is about to switch to Raw, which is going to be the feud with Austin. This Austin has just come back at this pay-per-view. So we will talk about that after this. Now we're going to talk about Rock on Raw in 2003. February 24th, 2003, The Rock switches to Raw. We open the show. Eric Bischoff is in the middle of the ring. He says he's just signed the biggest signing he's ever got. And out comes The Rock. The new music, the swagger, and everything. And Rock they're in Toronto. And he says, finally, who cares? And here he is, basically just trolling the crowd. He just makes fun of everything. He's like, yeah, you cheer because you say Toronto. He's like, that's where we live. He calls them out for booing him in WrestleMania 18, which is where the match with the first Hogan and Rock took place. And he's not happy with them booing him there. He says, Hogan's not here. It doesn't matter what you people think. He pretty much takes all his catchphrases and shoves them right at the audience. And, he talks to one guy, he says, this guy, he gets no pie. He calls him out for the Raw anniversary and not winning Superstar of the Decade. It's great. He's like, he says, he makes a joke about, he says, blah, 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 then the Maple Leafs suck. Booze, booze, booze. And he sets his sights on the world title. He said he's looking at getting the world title. Wants to become the champion again. And he cuts if you smell what The Rock, and he says, no, you lost your privileges. Only I get to say it. It's cooking. It's great. Now backstage, Rock is interrupted by the Hurricane. He calls him the Hamburglar, which is funny. Rock is going to be in a battle royal later on that night, and Hurricane's, pretty much this is starting a little feud between Rock and Hurricane. Dwayne Johnson is all about getting over people. And he really helped get over Hurricane. Talking about him, calling him the Hamburglar and stuff there. But I mean, when they get in the ring, he gives them something. It's not just like a nothing thing. And then The Rock, there's the battle royal. And all the guys are fighting. Rock gets out of the ring. He goes to the announce table and it's like, he's taking a break here. He's tired. It's a lot of people out there. He can't see. He's tired. Let me, get a breather. And he sees everybody kind of like getting down there, and he comes in there and he runs down there and he eliminates Kane and Christian. And he waits till he comes in and he DDTs Booker T. And then amazingly, he's about to throw Booker T over the top rope. And Booker T swings it around and it's Rock who gets eliminated clean. Once again, going back to Dwayne Johnson. He is here, but he is putting over people. He helped put over Booker T by losing to him clean. It's great. I mean, so now we're the next week on Raw, March 3rd, 2003. And The Rock is, bullying Coach backstage, and he says, "Yes, how long has it been here? You don't get to interview The Rock. The Rock interview. Get lost." He goes back in the dressing room, and he's looking around, and he sees that the Hurricane is in his dressing room. And, The Rock says, he's making fun of him for going over the top rope, for losing to Booker T. And Rock's like, no, The Rock tripped. And you can hear the crowd go. And then he goes, no, The Rock said he tripped. It's so great. They have such a great chemistry together. Hurricane and The Rock. And so the Hurricane, he starts making fun of the Hurricane. He said, "What are you going to do? You got braces on." He shows the braces. He says, "What are you going to do? Go sell banned candy?" I mean, he's great just putting over, getting himself over and getting the other person over. He's a true pro. His character, is cocky and all, but The Rock isn't afraid, the man, Dwayne Johnson, isn't afraid to let somebody get one over him, which you don't see with a lot of top guys. It's very rare do you see that. So, The Rock is booed, he's talking to like an AD, nothing much is really happening there. Bischoff and The Rock threatens, Rock threatens to leave, and then Austin's out there and Rock interrupts Austin. And he starts cutting a promo on, I believe they're in Long Island. He cuts a promo on them. He says, hey, it's not The Rock's fault. You guys don't live in Manhattan. And he says he's done it all. He's done everything there is. The only thing he hasn't done is defeat Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. There's the past 2 times The Rock has faced Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. The Rock has lost at WrestleMania 15 and at WrestleMania 17. So this would be the 3rd match. So The Rock is gung-ho. He wants Austin. Now, Bischoff comes out and he says, no, you don't just have to do that. You have a choice. You can face Stone Cold, or you can face Triple H for the world title. The choice is yours. Because if you win your match next week against Booker T, you get the choice. So that's great and everything. And then he throws out 3-minute warning, who get stunned by Austin. As Austin's in the middle of the ring, and The Rock comes out to confront Austin, and Austin and Rock brawl, and Austin tries to stun him, Stone Cold stun him, but he gets out of the ring and he runs away, once again showing the cocky Rock that he's become. So this takes us to March 10th, 2003, and The Rock is, he's standing in the doorway with his bag, waiting to meet Bischoff, and he coughs, and he goes, And, he's getting pretty pissed because he doesn't feel he's being taken care of. The Rock needs to be taken care of. It feels, he's pretty much telling Bischoff. And The Rock says he is facing Stone Cold Steve Austin at Mania. No one else. So basically, the Rock and Booker T match is not happening tonight. Which, if we look at that from a WWE standpoint, I think that's false advertising and kind of lame. And this was when they were kind of doing this all the time. It's supposed to be Rock and Booker T, and we don't get that. And The Rock is, we flash forward a little bit later on during the night. The Rock is playing his guitar, and The Rock and Hurricane are talking, and, he's like, "Are you ready to face The Rock?" And he starts saying, "What do you got? You got, your Hamburglar powers?" And it's, and The Rock says he has tons of power. He's making fun of everything about him. And then he sucker punches Hurricane. Sucker punches him. And then we go to Austin Bischoff. Rock interrupts Austin, makes Rock feel, says Austin makes Rock feel like a youngin'. Also makes Rock feel, less manly. Actually, no, I wrote that. Because when The Rock and this version of The Rock and Stone Cold are in the ring, I'm sorry, Stone Cold comes off as like the real man here. And he comes out and he says he's done it all and you ain't seen nothing. And he's going to, he talks about he wants to have a rock concert. And, hinting at the rock concert that he's going to do, because he's, he says, you ain't nothing. And the way he says you ain't nothing hints at the rock concert that's going to come a couple of weeks later. But the way he said it was almost exactly like the way he sung the song. So it's kind of a fun thing to look at looking back. So the, Rock, comes down and he says, you want The Rock to come and meet you, Stone? He says, nah. And, Austin accuses Rock of being scared. And Rock kind of sells the fear, which is great. It's great stuff. Now, we come to the main event of the show, and it's Rock versus Hurricane. And Rock puts on Hurricane's cape, which is funny as he's beating him up and everything. And, The Rock's pretty much got Hurricane beat. He's going to win. And Austin's music interrupts. And this match is pretty boring. There's not really much to talk about. I mean, I could talk about this match, but really the cape and Austin interfering is the only thing that matters. And The Rock is distracted, and Hurricane rolls him up. And 1, 2, 3, Hurricane beats The Rock. Once again, saying what a great man Dwayne Johnson is. He lets the Hurricane beat him. And it's not just like this forgettable thing. It's great. So now we go to March 17th, 2003. Rock gets stopped by Theodore R. Long, and he's got a magazine. And who's on the cover? The Hurricane. And The Rock is gonna bury. He's a little pissed. He's like, no. And the next match is Hurricane versus Rodney Mack, which is Theodore Long's guy. And the match is awful, and nobody cares. And he comes back out, and he throws Hurricane over the top rope, and he hits him with the chair, and The Rock leaves. This is kind of The Rock getting his revenge on Hurricane. And Rock comes in a little bit later on in the night. He sees Eric Bischoff, and he shows him his Willie Nelson guitar. And he says he's going to do a rock concert. And Bischoff's like, no, we can't do it in here. He's like, are you kidding me? We're not going to do it in St. Louis. We're going to do it somewhere else. Not in St. Louis. I mean, have you seen this town? It's great. It's good stuff. He's just amazing at this character. And so Austin is facing Bischoff, and it was supposed to be a lumberjack match, but Rock said, no, you don't need a lumberjack match, you just need The Rock, so make it no DQ and The Rock will come down and save you. You bring down your boy, Chief Morley, which makes no sense. I mean, this was kind of insulting to me as a viewer watching this, as I'm like, you built up for the past 2 hours that we're going to have this lumberjack match, and now, actually the week before they talked about it, and it comes to the night and Rock changes it, and it's like, what was the point of that? This was my problem with a lot of the Raw storytelling here, is there wasn't a lot of thought being put into it. It seemed like they were just flying by the seat of their pants. So, Austin is beating up Bischoff because Bischoff didn't do the lumberjack match, which was basically going to be a handicap match. And so it's no DQ instead. And Rock kindly comes down. He stuns Austin. He hits the Stone Cold Stunner, Austin's own move. And it's 2 count. And you know, Rock gets thrown out of the ring. And Austin pretty much Stone Cold stuns Bischoff. And it's 1, 2, 3. And I don't know, Bischoff has got to be the dumbest man in the world to have taken that offer. So after the match, The Rock gets the rock bottom on Austin. And he mocks Austin by drinking beer. He's walking off, he's drinking beer, and he's like, you know, ha ha, you know, The Rock. The Rock is here. Now we come to March 24th, 2003, Raw. It's Sacramento, and this is cut from the network, but as Bischoff basically has Stone Cold Steve Austin escorted out of the building at the very beginning of the show. And as he's being escorted out by cops, Rock has got the guitar and he's playing Jailhouse Rock. And he's going, one phone again, going again. I don't know the lyrics to this song, so you know, Eric tells Rock, because Rock wants another favor from Eric Bischoff, and he's like, look, every time I do a favor for you, it seems like I'm getting beat up. So let's not do that. And Rock tells Eric, you know, get some speakers out there, put some speakers out there so that, you know, Austin can hear The Rock's concert. And this is the Rock Concert 1, and this is so funny, so entertaining. So The Rock is coming out. He's got, you know, they got the red carpet in the ring. He's got his Willie Nelson guitar. He's in the ring. He's like, welcome to an evening with The Rock. It's so great. He's got like Perrier water on the stand there. It's so him. It's perfectly Hollywood Rock. And he says, you know what the best part of being in Sacramento is? In a couple hours, The Rock is going to leave Sacramento. And then he starts playing songs, and I don't really know exactly what songs he's playing. They're kind of like mashups of things. I don't know, maybe you would know what they are, but I didn't. So he says, you know, hey, don't get mad at him because, you know, his good friend Shaquille O'Neal called him the Sacramento Queens, and you got more booze and everything, and he's living Sacramento, there I go. Right? Says, I might take a train, I might take a plane. How do you people live here? You must be insane. Living Sacramento, I won't go. And he goes, but I'll be sure to be back when the Lakers beat the Kings in May. And booze. And then he says it one more time. Says, but I'll sure to be back when the Lakers beat the Kings in May. He is just trolling the crowd. It is something to be seen. It is so funny. Then he says, you know, he starts, you know, going, you know, Austin, is he out there? He's you know, he's selling bootleg T-shirts of The Rock. You know, you can't, you know, $5. It's so funny. And then he starts going, you ain't nothing but a redneck. It's so funny. He goes, He goes, whip Austin's ass again. The Rock can't wait to whip Austin's ass again. It's so funny. And then we hear, then we see Austin has driven the truck into the arena. We hear the glass break. The Rock's like, get these cops, get him out of here. Get him out of here. And we see from the truck is the Hurricane. He says, oh, that's not Austin. That's the Hamburglar. Arrest him. Arrest him. Get him out of here. They put him out of there. And then he goes back to his singing. And unbeknownst to him, Austin is in the back of the truck. Now the security's gone. There's nobody to protect Rock. He has no idea. So he's still cutting songs while Austin is like slowly stands up. And you can see the whole crowd just erupt with cheers. It's just they know what's going to happen now. And Rock is in the middle of the ring singing songs about Stone Cold Steve Austin. He goes, he's like, well, he's it's so funny. And he's still singing the song. And, Austin is walking around the track. He still hasn't seen him. Finally, he sees him. He's mic'd. So when he's beating him up, you can hear his as he's getting punched. It's so great. And oh man, he keeps getting beat up, and Austin's in the middle of the ring. He's got the Willie Nelson guitar. He strums it a little bit. He's kind of goading the Rock to come back. He's like, hey, don't touch that. That's the Rock's guitar. That's the Rock's guitar. That you can't break that. And he drops the gun, and the Rock is kind of slowly sauntering in, and he stomps the guitar right there, and the Rock lets out this. It's the funniest thing as he's doing it, and then Austin pulls up the guitar that's like been smashed to bits and like plays just the strings and throws the thing out. It's so great. And Rock leaves, and yeah, it's a great segment for the go home show of Raw. Although afterwards they did this thing where McMahon came out, and I was like, why wasn't that the end of the show? Makes no sense to me. So now we are at WrestleMania 19. And it is Rock Austin 3. And it's a pretty good video package, and everything's built up well. Earlier in the show, The Rock cuts a heel promo talking about how, he's about beating Austin at Mania will be so wonderful, be the best thing that's ever happened to The Rock. The Rock needs this to happen. And then he says the only thing that matters is not take one, not take two, but take three. Actually, he says act 3. He says not act 1, not act 2, but act 3. The end is the only thing that matters. It's a really good promo. Now we get the video package. Really good video package. I don't know if it's as good as WrestleMania 17, but it's pretty good. And that sets the stage for Rock Austin 3. And the music hits. And we get the long entrance and the long ramp. It's WrestleMania. They're in Safeco Field. Allegedly 56,000 fans. March 30th, 2003. And they're both, they both have the long entrance. And they're both there. And a lot of people don't know this, but Austin was actually in the hospital the night before. He had like a fever. He was like severely dehydrated. This was actually at one point going to close the show of WrestleMania 19, but after that they pushed it to the running up. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I assume it did. So this is basically, people don't know this, but this is Stone Cold Steve Austin's last match. And it's not really announced to the crowd or anything, but a lot of people backstage knew this is probably going to be his last match. So let's get to the match. Starts off with some brawling. I mean, Rock seems a little gassed as far as I'm concerned, because he doesn't seem like he has the cardio he once had, but I don't know. That might not be so. Jerry the King Lawler is kind of annoying as a heel commentator here, because he just keeps talking about Hollywood Rock. It's just kind of Austin's in control pretty much in the beginning of the match. There's the sharpshooter. Jim Ross says this is a wrestling match. At one point, Rock slaps Earl on accident when he's doing something outside the ring. The Rock puts on Stone Cold Steve Austin's vest, which has DMR on it, and I still don't know what the hell that means. Rock hits a stunner on him. He hits his own move. They've been preparing for this for a while. We get a stunner, but Austin, he's not going to lose to his own move. The crowd is slowly coming back. Rock hits his people elbow, but he misses. He doesn't connect. He hits it a second time this time. They play off of the kick out of the rock bottom and the kick out of the second rock bottom. And I mean, Rock is like eyeing him. And he gets the third rock bottom. It's 3 rock bottoms to beat Stone Cold Steve Austin. And we get the long sell in the end. This is the end of the feud. And kind of a lot of the cockiness of Rock dissipates at the end of this match, because he kind of gives this moment to Stone Cold Steve Austin, because I think he knew as well that this was Stone Cold's last match. So he's stepping out of that ring, and this is Stone Cold Steve Austin's last moment. He's walking up that ramp. All eyes are on him. And it's played up really big. And you have Jim Ross really, playing up how important a match this was to Stone Cold Steve Austin and to his career. It's a really good send-off. We don't know that it's the end of his career, but the people in the back know, and they're treating it as it. So that covers his first part in Raw. Now we're going to go to the last month of Hollywood Rock. This will be the end of this run. Sad, it was short, but, I don't know how much more you could have gotten out of it. And this will be Rock's lead up to his match with Goldberg. And we will talk about that after this. Okay. The last month of Rock, Hollywood Rock. And we are now at March 31st, 2003. This is the Raw after WrestleMania, and we start the show. The Rock is backstage, and he's cleaning his glasses, and he's saying, I think I got a pimple here, put some makeup on there. And he's talking to a guy named Fernando. He's like, Fernando, put the makeup on there. And he says, it's Rock Appreciation Night. So tonight is going to be Rock Appreciation Night. Kind of similar to Rock Concert. So, Rock is looking for Stone Cold. Stone Cold's already been fired by Eric Bischoff at the beginning of this show. And he's backstage, and he's got an energy drink with him. And he's talking to some of the crew, and he says, hey, cheer up. You don't need to be worried about, Steve Austin. You got The Rock here. This is the Rock Appreciation. There's going to be an after party and everything. And, you guys can't come, but, you can, come outside maybe and look. And they get sad. It's so great. He's trolling them. He's like, you can't come in, but, you can, stand outside. So now we get to Rock Appreciation Night. A rocker swaggers in, and Jim Ross is really annoyed with King here because he just won't shut up about the Hollywood stuff. And, at one point Jim Ross says, yeah, everybody came to see The Rock. He's like, you're making me sick here, King. It's great. Rock is coming out. he riles the crowd up here by talking about it. He says this is basically him saying, look, I have done it all. I've beaten everybody. Austin, this. He's listing all the people out. He's like, there's nothing left for him to do. And he says, you don't appreciate The Rock, so this will be the last night you will ever see The Rock again. And he's, talking about it. And he goes on, and he's stalling a little bit. And then, boom, Goldberg's music hits. Bill Goldberg's music hits. And you got to understand, Goldberg, we haven't seen him since WCW in 2001. So it's almost been 2 years we've seen this guy. And here he is. He's coming out. And he's, coming out. They do all his pyro and everything. And the crowd is like just losing it. Goldberg has returned, and he's gonna take care of this punk sitting in the ring, The Rock, who won't shut up. And The Rock, he's standing there. And Goldberg picks up the mic and he says, so Rock, you want to know who's next, huh? You're next! And he spears Rock. And Rock is like pretty much just down. Goldberg's spear is like a tackle. It's not like most guys do the spear in wrestling. It looks like it hurts like hell. And he is pretty much down, and that's how we end the show. Rock now has the opponent he hasn't beaten, Goldberg. So this will take us to April 7th, 2003. And The Rock sees Bischoff, and he's pissed that Goldberg speared him. He says, he's going to I'm going to confront Goldberg, And he's like, I'm afraid of Goldberg. I'm going to confront him. A little later, we see he's walking down the hall, and he sees Trish, and he's kind of coming on to her, and he says, you're looking hot there, honey. You're looking good. And she's like, I'm sweaty and wet. He's like, oh, you're sweaty and wet for the Rock here, And Trish is like, no, I'm just sweaty and wet. And he's like, well, you got to be careful. And Jeff Hardy's in back of him. He's like, what are you doing here? The Rock doesn't have time for you. And Jeff Hardy's like, it's too bad I saw, Goldberg just lay you out. And he, walks away. He says, what, you're going to face, you're going to face The Rock, huh? You're going to face The Rock here. And at one point, Trish and Jeff are kind of like just disgusted with him. Like, who the hell does this guy think he is? And so here we are. The Rock is in his dressing room to get ready. Christian knocks on the door, and he says, The Rock is talking to him, and he's saying, the thing I want to talk to you about is, you need to be more. You need to be better. You're not taking advantage of all the opportunities you have because you're much better than most of these guys here. And at one point, Christian pulls out the DVD, a DVD of the Scorpion King, and he wants it signed for his friend. And he says, okay, so who does The Rock make it out to? And he says, Christian. And like, okay, to Christian. He puts up the eyebrow like, wait a minute, your name's Christian. It's so great. He's like, oh, my friend is going to just love this. It's so great that we see Rock and Christian, and they're going to kind of sort of become like a short-term duo here. So this takes us to Rock versus Jeff Hardy. And Rock goes right after him. He's like beating on him. It looks like he's got bruises on him, but it's really Jeff Hardy's face paint. And he's beating on him. And Hardy does a people's elbow. Hardy does the swanton. Rock kicks out at 2. It's a rock bottom, 1, 2, 3. There's not really much that happens in this match. It's pretty boring. It's pretty paint by numbers. I'm just going to be honest with you. I did not really care watching it. So The Rock throws Hardy over the top rope, and Jim Ross sells it was like, look at Rock. He just throws him over the top rope like a piece of garbage. And Rock grabs the mic and he calls out Goldberg. And he says, why don't you just bring it, bitch? And Goldberg comes out and he's standing right in front of them and everything. And he says, you want to face The Rock? You want to face The Rock at Backlash? And he's like, nah. He steps out of the ring and runs back. Once again, showing the cockiness. It's fantastic stuff here. And Christian comes in from behind, but he gets speared. He's pretty much useless against Goldberg. And Rock comes in, but, cowards away because Goldberg is like turns right around. The Rock is only going to attack him if he's from behind. And he turns away and he says, no, you don't need to fight him. And he runs out of the arena, and then he runs out of the arena and they show him like pretty much running down the steps and going out the building. He grabbed his stuff. He hasn't even changed out of his gear. He's getting out of there. So awesome. Rock just such the troll. Such a troll and such a coward. Perfect heel. It's so good. April 14, 2003. Rock's not here. There's really not much to talk about here. He cuts a promo via satellite and says, we're in West Virginia. Yes, they're in West Virginia, even though they're actually in Richmond, Virginia. And he says he's got a new guitar. And he says, you know what? It's going to be a rock concert too in Atlanta. And he makes fun of Goldberg's aggression. And he says, what is a Whisker Biscuit going to do? And he says, you want the Rock at Backlash? You got the Rock at Backlash. So it's going to be The Rock and Goldberg at Backlash. Nothing else happens on the show that is interesting other than that. April 21st, 2003, Rock arrives in a stretch Hummer for his Rock Concert 2. He calls it Rocklanta. And Terry interviews him, Terry Runnels. Rock doesn't really say anything of importance. It's really just kind of trolling the crowd. It's good stuff, though. Rock Concert 2 comes out, trolls the crowd. He says, I got Goldberg right here. He brings out Gilberg, which is the mockery that WWE did in the 1998 to 1999 of Goldberg. Basically, a guy who's bald and short and dressed like Goldberg, but nowhere near the impressive physique and pretty much a jobber in the business. He didn't really have a lot of good matches. I hear the guy that plays him, Gilberg, Dwayne Gill, is a really nice guy, so I'm sure he enjoyed this. Rock cuts a promo. He says, you don't want to choke just like the Braves here. And he says the song, Devil Went Down to Georgia, and he makes fun of Goldberg, and he's got Gilberg, and he's making fun of him, and it's kind of funny. It's not as good as Rock Concert 1, but it's funny. Goldberg shows up. Security comes out. The security was useless because Goldberg pretty much just takes care of the security in like one swell swoop. Rock bottoms Goldberg, then he runs away to his limo. He's hightailing it out of there. He's back in the limo and he's out of this arena. And Goldberg runs to his car, which is like this hot rod that he came in. It's really nice. Unfortunately, it stalls and it doesn't work. So Goldberg decides to run after The Rock on foot, which makes absolutely no sense. So he's off to face to run after Goldberg's limo. The Rock's limo. Makes no sense. At this point in time, I felt like they were scratching the barrel here, as they had no idea what to do. It looked like they were rehashing exactly what they did with Austin except this time they're doing it with Goldberg, and it's not as good. I'm just going to be honest here. So Rock, we find out that Rock never actually left. He just duped Goldberg. So he says, it's an encore. The Rock has got an encore coming up. He comes out, he's ready to sing. I don't think he sings any songs. Goldberg shows back up. Christian helps Rock. He's not very useful, but, he's a little bit of help. And Rock this time has a chair. He hits Goldberg 7 times with the chair. Pretty stiff shots. So Goldberg is now looking for revenge against Rock. And this is going to lead us to the very end of Hollywood Rock. April 27th, 2003. This is the end of the run. Rock shows up to the arena. He's talking to Lillian Garcia. He pulls out his arm. He says, "Feel that?" And she's like, "It's big." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you bet it's big, honey. You bet it's big." It's so great. Good stuff. And Rock versus Goldberg. And Rock cuts a promo on Goldberg before the show. They're in Worcester, Massachusetts. One thing I noticed about the entrance, there's no ramp, which is kind of interesting. It felt like the entrances were longer than the match. Rock cut a pretty good promo backstage. There really is nothing of importance to really talk about here. So we get to the match. Goldberg comes out. This was not a good place to debut Goldberg because they're in Worcester, Massachusetts. Not Goldberg's stomping ground. This is WWE stomping ground, and a lot of them don't like WCW. And they are booing Goldberg, and it's loud, and you can notice it. So Rock stalls. He's trying to, get the crowd to, boo him, but they don't want to boo Rock. They like Rock. Rock's got the white trunks on. He does a test of strength with Goldberg. Goldberg wins. It's boring. Goldberg is being booed. Rock slaps Goldberg. Goldberg, Rock blocks the spear. Rock hits a low blow. Really nothing happened. This is a really nothing match. Rock bottom on Goldberg. 2 count. Elbow, people's elbow. 2 count. The crowd loves Rock. They could care less about Goldberg. Goldberg spears Rock. Then he, is ready. He spears him again. So we got 2 spears. Goldberg is being booed out of the building. Jackhammer. Goldberg beats Rock 1, 2, 3. And that is the end of Rock, Hollywood Rock. Goldberg goes out. Now, after the show is over, Rock comes out and he's trolling the crowd. The crowd loves him, so he's going to play up to it. He talks about, he says, there's a new record. I don't think I've ever got my ass whooped any faster. He jokes around with that. He tells the crowd, he says, look, I'm going to be going away for a while. I know. But I'll be back. And then he cuts the "If You Smell What the Rock Is Cooking," but the old "If You Smell What the Rock Is Cooking," no heel, loud. The crowd loves him. And that says goodbye to Rock in his heel character. Now, Rock returns on June 2nd, 2003, but he basically is a face there, and it's not Hollywood Rock anymore. Although he does come out to the music, but I think that's the last time we see the Hollywood Rock music. And it was a great run, and I would like to talk about... After this, I will talk about what I think The Rock's run meant. So to sum it up, Hollywood Rock, Rock 2003, heel Rock. One of my favorite incarnations of Rock. As you can see, he really played into his entertaining aspect. Also, he showed he could be the cowardly heel. He was kind of winking at the audience toward the end there. I mean, it kind of felt like he was almost turning himself face because he became so entertaining that like you couldn't keep him heel. But I like this rock. I love the music. I thought that was such a cool twist. I mean, people still talk about Hollywood rock to this day, wrestling fans, so it really hit. I mean, it's only 3 months, but people still remember this era of rock. For me, it was great because I always loved 1998 to 1999 heel rock, which he was so good as a heel, he turned himself face, which basically is what happens here. It was a good run. Toward the end, I didn't really like it. The Goldberg feud was just, it felt paint by numbers. Vince McMahon had no idea how to use him. But the Austin stuff, the Hogan stuff, that was all great. For me, my favorite part was probably up to the Rock Appreciation Night. After that, it kind of just falls off a cliff. I don't feel like they knew what to do anymore after that. But Hollywood rock will always have a soft spot in my heart. Just a great time to see The Rock. He embraced all the things that people were saying about him, and he turned them into positives. Some of his best mic work. He showed how entertaining he could be. He showed what a good worker he was. Dwayne Johnson put over so many people. Look at him. He's working with Jeff Hardy. He's working with Hurricane. He's working with Booker T. He made all those guys better. He helped guys. Look at him. He was willing to lose to Goldberg in like 10 minutes. He's such a giving performer, and this just shows how good The Rock is. And I think that's going to do it for this episode of the DMF. I'd like to thank you for listening. If you have any comments or you'd like anything specific covered, please let me know on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. My handle is basically Justin Yance, so if you know my name, you can find my stuff. So I'd like to say thank you, and I will see you next time on the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yance. Thank you.